Shani, welcome. I'm so excited to dive in and to have this conversation with you.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to chat.
So I thought maybe we could go back and talk about the birthing and the origin story of Allermi. And in fact, you're also a new mom or a newish mom as well. And there is, it just seems like there's so much lived experience in your story between you and your dad. So I guess walk us through how this came about and how, as a first-time founder, you had the conviction to say, look, this is what I want to do.
Yeah. So the Allermi story really starts back in 1992 in my dad's lab at Stanford, where he's been an allergist ever since. He was seeing patients who were experiencing nasal congestion, postnasal drip, runny nose, itch and sneeze, and they weren't getting better with the medications that they were using. They were either using fluticasone or Flonase or Afrin or Benadryl, oral antihistamines, oral decongestants, and they were experiencing a lot of side effects and their symptoms weren't getting better. So he, being the MD, PhD scientist, physician that he is, realized that in order to get comprehensive relief of those symptoms in a safe way that you can use every single day, you had to combine multiple active ingredients into the same nasal spray bottle and get topical application of medication into the nose. So not taking a pill that's absorbed by your whole body, but really applying safe, localized medications directly to the problem area. So he started mixing things up in his lab, and he became pretty well known for this because they would work incredibly well within 15 minutes. The relief would last 12 to 24 hours, and you could use it every single day for the rest of your life without risk of dependence or long-term side effects. So his name is Dr. Bocian, and his colleagues in ENT and allergy started to call these nasal sprays that he was mixing up Bocian's potions. And people would come from all over to get Bocian's potions, and they would, the joke was that every other house in Palo Alto had a Bocian's potion in their medicine cabinet. Then I came around. I developed allergies at around 10, 11 years old. I started having chronic nasal congestion, like many, many children and adults do. About 1 out of 4 people experience allergy and nasal congestion. And so naturally, I went to my dad and he gave me this nasal spray and he would mix it for me every month. And then when I went away to school, I started mixing it myself. He taught me how to acquire the ingredients and how to mix it in my kitchen sink and a spoon of this and a spoon of that. And I would mix it for my friends who had the same symptoms as I did, and they loved it too. And I started to realize, wow, this is a commodity. Like, this isn't just, my dad's weird, science thing that he does. This is a real product that people need and want, including myself. At the time, I was getting my master's in education. I was set to go into academia. I had a job offer, and I couldn't stop thinking about nasal sprays. I was mixing them in my sink. I was mixing them for my friends. I met my then boyfriend, now husband, who had a sinus infection since he was 9 years old. I gave him a bottle. It fixed him. I think that's why he married me. And I became obsessed and really excited about the opportunity to make a product that I could distribute nationwide to everyone who needed it. The caveat was that Allermi requires a prescription because it's a medication. It's not commercially available. It's compounded. And I had to figure out a way to get prescription medication accessible to everyone who needed it across 50 states using the internet.
Yes.
And so that was the challenge. And that was, from there, I declined the job offer that I had. My parents said, move home. We'll support you if you start this business. You can't stop talking about it. This seems to be your path. So I moved home and I started the company. My parents were my first investors and biggest supporters, and worked with my dad to try and establish this business. And here we are today.
Wow. And you've never looked back?
I've looked back a few times. It gets hard. Sometimes I look back. Sometimes I wonder what my life would be like with a steady academic job. But, generally I don't look back.
I know. I find it interesting when there are the storylines or conversation threads around following your passion or following what you're actually good at and then continue to develop that. And so I'm curious, before we kind of talk more about the product and the company, where in this process, what did you uncover for yourself in terms of definitely your passion? And then what did you learn about your strengths and maybe limitations? Because I think the founder journey is probably one of the most honest journey you can probably be on.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I uncovered that I love novelty and I love innovation. I love new things and new challenges. That's what gets me really excited. And it's been that way ever since. Anytime there's a new initiative, a new project, a new build, that's what reignites my energy in the business. And I think founders are drawn to that. Like founders love building new things and creating novelty and building something that hasn't existed before. And those are the real founders. You have your business people who take ideas that have already been established and they figure out how to grow them. But like the real innovative, inventive people, I think, make that true early stage founder really great. And so figuring out the puzzle pieces of how to build a telemedicine, biotech, pharmaceutical consumer business was really exciting. I used to say to people when everything was so new and confusing at the time, I would be like, I feel like I'm trying to build a puzzle, but I'm missing half the pieces. It was such a brain challenge every day to try and figure out how to make this thing work. And I really appreciated that. And I think I was very drawn to those early days of new challenges. But then, you build an established business and it starts to grow, and then it really starts to grow. And, there are new challenges and new builds and new exciting things that are happening. But at a certain point, you just have to scale what's working. And then I think it becomes more stressful and less exciting, at least for someone like myself who really likes the new. And so in terms of the question you asked about uncovering my weaknesses or challenging areas, I think you reach a point where the skills that you use to build something brand new, I don't think are the same skills that you use to scale something that's working. And it's almost like it takes a different type of person, at least and I think there are founders who do both really well and they're brilliant and amazing. I'm not sure I'm one of them. But it really takes like a very unique set of skills to do each. And then you really feel that transition when you hit, a certain revenue milestone or a certain like product market fit where you're like ready to scale. And so I would say that's been a challenge over the last year or so for me.
Yeah. Actually, that leads me, and that's a wonderful segment to the next question in terms of your focus on nasal allergies and not really going beyond that. And I'm curious, like what's the thinking there? Is it because the specialization has been so deep? Is it because there's more of the market to win? Or has it just been more of timing if there is even any interest in expanding into other allergy solutions and categories?
I think it's all of those things. The market is enormous. 1 out of 4 people suffer from nasal allergies. That's huge. It's the biggest chronic disease. It beats out diabetes and heart disease in terms of prevalence and frequency, but it's underaddressed because it's not life-threatening, thank God. So people don't really talk about it as if it were a chronic disease and as vast as it is. But it's an enormous market, which also means there's room for multiple winners and room for lots of innovation. So that's number one, is that I think there's so much of the market left to tap, and we've only touched like a tiny portion of it. I think secondly, we are an allergist founded company. I started the company with my dad, an allergist immunologist at Stanford, and another co-founder who's an allergist immunologist who trained at Stanford under him and now has a private practice. And expanding beyond our roots as an allergist founded business felt inauthentic. Like there's dermatology, there's weight loss, there's all kinds of cool and exciting things happening within consumer healthcare, within compounding, but we know what we know. And I think we do a very niche thing best. And my feeling was always, let's go very deep in a very narrow area rather than go thin and wide. And let's be the absolute best, most incredible nasal spray solution and stay true to that. That was always my thinking, is that we stay true to who we are and not try and expand beyond that. There are multiple areas within allergy. You have asthma, you have food allergy, there's allergy shots, there's immunological diseases, there's skin allergy, hives, there's eczema. So there's a lot of opportunity. However, not all of those are really well positioned to be treated online. Not all of those are well positioned to be treated in a cash pay manner. They require, the medications are expensive. They require insurance, and not all of them have treatments, and I think safety is a big concern for us within allergy because, unlike in other fields, you have anaphylaxis. Like if you're prescribing immunotherapy, you're giving someone something they're allergic to, particularly within food, there's a risk of death. Like it's not super easy and simple. All of our allergists have had people die in their clinics. And so, you see people online that are prescribing food allergy therapies online. There's a lot of snake oil in allergy. So I think, we've chosen to be really thoughtful, cautious, stick to what we know, and tap as much of the market that we're addressing as we can. Yeah. And, we're launching other products that are within kind of the nasal allergy space that are non-medicated, but they're all supportive and ancillary to our hero product, which is our custom nasal spray.
I appreciate the commitment and the value to go deep, especially when there is a large enough market to support that. I'm curious in terms of when you first went to market and even now in finding your initial core customers, because you have the customer segments that are willing to do the shots and their expectation is that that's a 3 to 4 year commitment. I mean, we're in Austin and the allergies here are just out of control compared to when we were in California. So definitely get the need for it. And so you've got the customer who's looking for the shots and willing to commit. And then you have, the other customer who is used to using Flonase and also that price point. I'm curious in terms of how you thought about your positioning and finding that core customer who is looking for a solution that isn't a shot solution, but something more effective and kind of the thought process there.
Yeah, shots are interesting. Very, very few numbers allergy sufferers are on shots. There are businesses that are, and medical practices that are trying to expand access to immunotherapy, whether it be oral or injected, subcutaneous as it's called. So immunotherapy takes many years to work. Essentially what immunotherapy is when you ingest or inject a very, very tiny quantity of what you're allergic to so that your body becomes immune and stops creating as significant a reaction. Kind of like a vaccine where you inject a little bit of the virus into your body and then you become immune to it. But allergy immunotherapy takes many years, takes about 3 to 5 years for a course. A lot of people need to continue it lifelong. It doesn't start having a kind of an effect on symptoms until about a year in at minimum. And so it's a very slow course. You also have to have identifiable allergens. A lot of people who have quote unquote allergy symptoms, nasal congestion, postnasal drip, runny nose, sneeze, but they don't actually have any identifiable allergens. They just have inflammation of the nose. They're reacting to particles in the environment, to pollutions, to chemicals and irritants. They are genetically prone to nasal inflammation. Their nasal anatomy is configured in such a way that makes them more prone to be congested or create excess mucus. There are a lot of people out there who have that kind of non-allergic set of symptoms for whom allergy immunotherapy would do nothing, and they wouldn't even be candidates for it.
Yeah.
On top of that, it's a huge commitment. I mean, if you do it in office, you have to go in bi-weekly, then monthly after that for many years. You have to have good insurance that covers it. If you do the oral version, there are some that are FDA approved. Other businesses are selling serums that are not FDA approved, that are used off label. Whether they're safe and effective, we don't know. There isn't good data to support that. So it's not something we've chosen to do at Allermi. It's the long-term commitment. You have to be allergenic. And we feel that people who have symptoms that are impacting their life, impacting their breathing, they can't sleep, they can't taste food, they can't exercise, they have brain fog because their nose is congested, they have sinus headaches. Those people need to feel better today. And so when you get Allermi and you use it, you feel better within 15 minutes. And the relief lasts for a shorter, you're not doing anything permanent to fix or cure your symptoms, but you're providing yourself with 12 to 24 hours of relief. So in the same way that if you have high blood pressure, you have to take a blood pressure medication every day to keep your blood pressure stable. So in the same way, if you have nasal inflammation, you have to use a nasal spray every day to keep your nasal inflammation under control. And so that's how we think about Allermi, as symptom control that provides relief right away, that you can use every single day, that doesn't require an office visit, that doesn't require allergy testing, that doesn't even require you to be an allergenic individual, but rather someone who's seeking relief for whatever the cause of their symptoms and needs relief now.
Yeah, I got that. And that's such a clear breakdown. I do find that the allergy landscape, there's a lot to navigate, especially if we're not just going to go into CVS and just purchase, the Flonase for some attempt at relief. So I love that. And I really appreciate just the thoughtfulness of that breakdown as well. Let's maybe kind of talk a little bit about buyer friction and then retention. So a couple of things are going through my mind on that front in terms of education. So if you're new in the market, you're having to innovate and educate on all that you are just sharing with me and for your customer to actually try and being willing to take the leap. If they need immediate relief and they can't just go into a Walgreens or a CVS, I guess talk us through a little bit more about the buying process. How long does it take for someone to get their personalized product? And when you are educating and nurturing your prospect and customer, how are you going about that?
So Allermi really is intended for the allergy sufferer, the nasal congestion or postnasal drip sufferer, the symptom sufferer who's tried other medications or who is currently using other medications and not getting comprehensive relief from them. If you're experiencing allergies for the first time or nasal symptoms for the first time, Allermi probably isn't the right solution for you because it's a compounded prescription, personalized, sophisticated medication with multiple active ingredients. Go buy something cheap and see if it works for you well before before investing in something as sophisticated as Allermi. So we really are dealing with patients who are more moderate to severe. They have tried medications that are available over the counter. Maybe they've even seen an ENT or an allergist, and they haven't gotten comprehensive relief. They still experience the congestion and the symptoms that Flonase and other medications aren't addressing. And so they're generally familiar with nasal sprays. 90% of our patients come to us already using a nasal spray. So the education isn't around like, this is a thing called a nasal spray. Try it for the first time ever. You're already using multiple nasal sprays. Switch to Allermi. It'll be simpler, more effective, more cost effective, et cetera. So that's kind of the ideal customer that we're targeting, who Allermi serves best. And then in terms of the process, you come to our website, you sign up, you go through an intake questionnaire. And so we ask you all about your symptoms, how severe they are, and your medical history. And we get a really clear and full picture about exactly what you're experiencing, how long you've been experiencing it for. We go as deep as, what color is your mucus when you blow your nose? Or when you press on the left side and you breathe in through your right side, how blocked is your nostril? And so we get really clear, granular data on what you're experiencing, much more so than you would get when you visit an allergy office or an ENT office, just because there's more time and, doctors' time is so short and they can't spend that much time. So we get a lot of data. We then use that data using our proprietary algorithms and treatment protocols to come up with a formula for that patient. So Destinee, you come to us and you have 8 out of 10 congestion, 4 out of 10 runny nose, 0 out of 10 sneeze. You're not really so sneezy. Maybe you're experiencing some itch, lots of postnasal drip. You're going to get a formula, let's say formula 12, that is formulated for you to address those symptoms at the level of severity that you're experiencing them with your medical history in mind. Someone else comes to us, patient Shani, they have not such bad congestion, but tons of itch and sneeze, lots of runny nose, no postnasal drip. They're going to get, let's say, formula 34. And it's going to be a different formula from you because we experience the same disease, but the symptoms really differently. And then as we go on, we it's compounded in our pharmacy, it's shipped to you, we use it, it's really helping my itch and sneeze, but my nose is still running. I'll go back to Allermi and I'll say, hey, my nose is still running. We'll increase the ingredient that targets runny nose. You come back to us, oh, this is great, but I'm having nosebleeds. We'll decrease the ingredient that's more prone to causing nosebleed. Or you come to, oh, this is great, but I'm still congested, or I still have postnasal drip, and so on and so forth. So we adjust the formula for you. So it's very personalized, very tailored to you. And I think that's really like the future of medicine, because especially with diseases where people experience symptoms so differently from one another, people really need personalized formulas to give them the relief that they need.
Agreed. I mean, even in the world of gut health and your microbiomes and even skin health, like now we are really in this space of being able to have personalized solutions that are much more effective. And, as companies are figuring out operational scale, I think I could not agree more that this is the future of health, and we're very lucky that we're living in it.
Oh, totally. 100%. I mean, you see it, I think skincare is a perfect example, because for the condition like acne, people experience acne so different. There's like 12 different types of acne: under the skin, on top of the skin, whiteheads, blackheads, sebaceous filaments, oily skin, dry skin. Can you tolerate fragrance? How sensitive are you? And we have companies that are doing an incredible job building out customized formulas for skincare that are going to treat acne and other skin conditions in personalized ways. We were the first to do it within Allergy. We were the first customized, personalized nasal spray on the market. And, others have attempted to do the same thing and kind of, take what we've done and make it their own. And, I think that's just validation that we've created something valuable. But we were the first to do that within Allergy. And I think the skincare model was very inspirational. Hair care too. I mean, hair texture comes in a million different types. Do you have color? Do you have treatment? Straight hair, curly hair, dry scalp, flaky scalp, oily scalp? What fragrance do you like? What texture do you like? And so in the same way, like Prose, for example, has done an incredible job at customizing hair care to meet the really personal needs of someone treating their hair. There's lots of different examples of that.
What is your customer retention like? I mean, given the need for this and the personalized and the stickiness, I'm curious what that looks like for the company once someone is willing to give it a shot.
It's really strong. We have some of the best retention in the consumer landscape. I think that's because we've created something that people use every day. So it would be comparable to like a toothbrush and a toothpaste, where you're doing something twice a day, every single day, because you have a chronic condition, you need relief, and Allermi is the only thing that provides that relief. And so it becomes a part of your routine when you wake up in the morning and before you go to sleep at night. And otherwise you are not functioning at top performance. You're not sleeping at top performance if you don't use your Allermi. And so that's that's why we love targeting those chronic customers who need their Allermi every single day. Those are obviously our best customers because they're actually building up a daily habit. When you can breathe through your nose after experiencing nasal congestion, when you're not choking on mucus after experiencing postnasal drip, that feeling becomes very addictive. Like you become dependent on your ability to breathe through your nose. And Allermi is able to provide that. And so I think that builds a really strong and retentive, sticky business when you are able to offer, people immediate relief that they can use every day. I think even more so than people take their vitamins every day, and those are very sticky businesses, but you don't see results from vitamins. You don't feel an immediate effect.
It's not as apparent or obvious, right?
Yeah, it's not obvious, right? It's maybe prophylactic and preventative. Maybe you're avoiding illness. Maybe your immune system is better, but you don't really know, but you still take your vitamins. With Allermi, if you're familiar with the painkiller versus vitamin model, so painkiller works right away, but you don't take it every day. The vitamin doesn't work right away, but you do take it every day. Allermi really serves both. And I think it's due to the fact that we have multiple active ingredients, one of which works right away and you feel that relief within 15 minutes. The others that you use over the long term, and it kind of sustains that feeling of relief. And so we've been able to achieve both that painkiller and vitamin effect in one single product. And that's led to really sticky retention.
If you're willing to share, how long would you say your average customer sticks around for?
I mean, we have customers that have been with us since we launched in January of 2023. So, the LTV for Allermi is endless. The limit does not exist, as they say. You can use Allermi every single day for the rest of your life. There's a lifelong LTV potential. We have customers that have been with us for 36 months and they are continuing to engage with us, change their formula when needed, order in bulk, order our additional products, and love the Allermi brand and really trust it.
How are you finding your customers now? And I'm curious what the marketing channel mix is. Is it a lot of organic, a lot of referrals before we kind of go into what's next? And I'm also curious about growth challenges and roadblocks.
Yeah, so we've done a lot of performance marketing, kind of growth marketing on Facebook or Meta rather, and Google. I think that's just the fastest way to prove product market fit and scalability is to spend on Google and Meta. So that's the approach that we've taken thus far. It gets expensive. You have to do a ton of creative testing. It's obviously been a challenge for us to do that well. I think we've learned a ton and, are regularly refreshing our approach to performance marketing. And hopefully with some recent changes, we'll be able to really see some great differences. And, I think we measure things in terms of how quickly we can earn back our customer acquisition cost. So if we invest, $50 in Meta in acquiring a customer, how many months does it take to make that money back? And then when does that customer become profitable? And so that's the method by which we're tracking our unit economics and our efficiencies. The goal, obviously, for every business is under 6-month CAC payback, because then you can reinvest in marketing without having to raise additional rounds of venture capital. So that's what we've been targeting. But, it's a challenge, and you have to have the right people behind marketing. You have to have the right approach towards testing. You have to have the right approach towards creative. And so, I think for every consumer business, growth marketing is the biggest challenge. I think also, when you're venture backed, there's pressure to achieve a certain scale. There are certain milestones that are set and kind of arbitrary, but kind of industry standard that you feel like you have to meet. And so, sometimes you have to overspend to get there. And the hope is that when you reach those milestones, it unlocks more financing or more opportunities. And so, that's always a challenge of managing the expectations of investors versus real, solid, healthy business economics. And then in terms of referrals and organic, we've been really lucky in that. So we're an allergist founded brand. We have Stanford, Harvard, Duke, Northwestern, Mount Sinai, Cornell physicians who've founded and been with the business for many years since launch, who are doing all of our care. So we have a real kind of leadership based in medical credibility. And I think we have, over 100 publications between all of our physicians. They're well respected within their fields. They're members of the associations. They're at the top medical schools and have training from the top schools. We've attracted the attention of a lot of practitioners. And so every day, double-digit percentage of our new customers come from physician referrals. Those doctors, they're from all over, and they're from every specialty too. ENTs, allergists, facial plastic surgeons, TMJ specialists, sleep medicine doctors, psychiatrists, orthodontists, anyone who deals with sleep, the airway, allergy. So any physician who deals with those symptoms we've had referrals referrals from each of those specialists. We've built up quite a significant base of doctors who trust Allermi, who see how it affects their patients, who love the results that they see, who understand the scientific studies and the safety, who trust our prescribing physicians. And so that's been a really great source of acquisition for us and an area that we're trying to grow.
Yeah, I love that. And that makes so much sense in terms of having that channel as a referral partner and building out the B2B or B2 practitioner side in addition to the consumer. So I love that. What's next? I'd love to, wrap up with you've been in the market for a couple of years. Things are growing well. You're serving market demand and a need that is underserved and doing it so well and in such a unique way. I'm curious as to, what's next and the next chapter.
I think for the small steps of what's next, we're getting ready to launch some design changes, some changes to our marketing and brand that I think are going to be really exciting to just bring a new kind of air of professionalism and kind of elegance to what we do. We're still operating off the website and the brand that I built on Canva 5 years ago.
I would not have guessed that. And I'm not just saying that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But I'm at the point, I think most founders can relate to this, where I've seen our website so many times that I absolutely hate it and can't look at it anymore. And so we're going to hopefully have some beautiful refreshments there that I'm excited about. Some changes to our offer. We recently launched a sample program where instead of ordering a full bottle, you can get a little sample and you can try it for a couple days before converting to subscription. And that's been going incredibly well. So that's been working well. Launching a couple additional products that'll support nasal health, airway breathing, good sleep, and just continuing to scale what we do best. So hopefully, the goal is to just get as many people who need Allermi on the program and serve them in the best way that we can. And yeah, I'd say those are the plans for the next year.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing your story. And I feel like we got so many great nuggets here, especially even starting with your founder's story and just kind of how you stepped into all of this.
Oh, it's so my pleasure. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to talk about it.